Well, hello there. Today, I want to review a book. So we're going to review a book called Uncanny Valley by Anna Wiener. And really what this book is this is Anna Weiner's story through Silicon Valley. So Anna Weiner was not a coder, not a programmer, which if you've ever worked in Silicon Valley, I do currently. I don't work in Silicon Valley, but I work for a Silicon Valley company. You know that you're not a lesser employee in the company, but you're definitely not as important as the programmers, which makes sense. Like, I don't have any problem with that or any issue with that. So really this book is a story of her journey through Silicon Valley. And so she starts off with a digital book company in New York. It was a really small startup. She wasn't the programmer, so it didn't necessarily work out. And then those guys get her a job in San Francisco, and she moves to San Francisco and joins a data analytics startup. And then after that, she ends up getting into that data analytics startup, has the same kind of struggles that startup culture can have at times, and then moves on into, it doesn't mention in the book, but it's GitHub. Really, this book is really interesting because to me, a lot of the journey and a lot of the things that are happening in this book happened to me. Like, I definitely have seen that. I've seen some of the support side. She ends up being a lot in support for these, and I've seen some of the things that come through support and some of the challenges and what you do, and some of the challenges of just being in this culture where the programmers are on top, and they should be. Like, they're the ones making the product. They're the ones with the skill. I don't have a problem with that. But it's definitely the culture, and it's interesting to be in that culture. And really what's interesting about this book is following that journey. I think where I got lost a little bit is when she gets to where she's at GitHub. It, again, doesn't mention GitHub, but it's GitHub. Really, it gets more into Silicon Valley culture rather than her journey in GitHub. So you can see that things are interesting at GitHub. She's one of the ones that's doing a lot of the not censorship, but a lot of the moderating at GitHub, which people were hiding all kinds of crazy things. The people who are responsible, we always talk about like freedom of speech with things like Twitter and Facebook and GitHub and stuff like that. But the people who are responsible for keeping just vile, evil things off of there, I feel for those folks. And so she was one of those, but where she really gets into is she gets more into like the culture of like Burning Man and doing stuff like that. And to me, it kind of lost me a little bit at the end of the book. So really, I loved this book. At the end kind of was a little bit of a slog, though, because really I wanted to see more of the technology side and the Silicon Valley and the stories from that, rather than the stories of like San Francisco culture and like Burning Man style culture and that kind of bro culture that's out there. That's something that didn't interest me as much, but I think that's also the perspective that I have, where some of the kind of early parts of this book really mirror things that I've been through. So do I recommend this book? Yes, but just know that the end gets a lot less into the technology side and more into kind of San Francisco culture and Silicon Valley culture.